Okay, so here we are. We are going to do a review of lessons 43 through 46, Unit 11 on page 73. So this chapter was about some different time signatures like 3/8 and 6/8, and we'll just get right into it. Oh yeah, so the very first thing, number 1, when the first measure is complete, the beginning notes, when the first measure is incomplete, the beginning notes are called pickup notes. Okay? Pickup notes. Okay, so for number 2, complete the last measure with the correct note value for the given note name. Okay, so here you've got your pickup measure of beat 1, right? Because there's only one beat. And since we're in 3/4, we know that that has to be beat 3. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Rest. 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And we're going to have A here. It's going to be an A, and that's got to be a half note, okay? Because in our last measure, since we have a pickup note and it's just one beat, we know that the measure at the end has to be 2 beats because the measure at the end completes the pickup measure. So between the end measure and the beginning measure, pickup measure, we have 3 full beats. 1, 2 here, and 3. And that's essentially how pickup measures work. Okay, so just some vocabulary here. When the accent falls on the weak beat, it is called syncopation. That's a word that you'll commonly hear in jazz. Okay, so for number 4, fill in note values to create syncopation and complete the measure. Okay, so remember, a lot of times in syncopation notation, you're going to have beats starting with single eighth notes, which is kind of unusual from what you might be used to. So you're going to have an eighth note right there, and that's going to be 1 and. And then we're going to have another single eighth note right there. So you see a lot more single eighth notes, like on downbeats, in syncopation notation. And again, I highly recommend, if you haven't picked up a copy of it already, picking up a copy of Ted Reed's book. It's called Syncopation for the Modern Drummer. Now, even if you're not a drummer or a percussionist, like, this book is great for your rhythm reading. If you want to get great at rhythm reading, pick up that book. Okay, moving on. What type of note receives the beat in 3/8 and 6/8 time signatures? Circle 1. Remember, in our time signatures, okay, you ask yourself 2 questions. How many and what kind? Okay, so for these, what type of note receives the beat? The top question is how many, that's 3. The bottom is what kind, eighth notes. Okay, so 3/8 means 3 eighth notes. 6/8 means 6 eighth notes. So that receives the beat, is our eighth notes. Okay. For 6/8 time, write the total number of beats. Okay. So an eighth note plus an eighth note equals 2 beats, because that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so if this were 4/4, an eighth note plus an eighth note would equal a quarter note, so that would only be 1 beat. Make sense? Okay, so we're still in 6/8. Remember, 6 eighth notes per measure. How many is the top note? What kind is the bottom note? Okay, so here we've got, breaking it down into eighth notes. 1, 2, 3 for the dotted quarter note, plus 4, 5 for the single quarter note. So that's going to be 5 beats in 6/8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 would be a rest, I guess, if that was the measure. Okay, and here we've got 1, 2 plus 1. That's going to be 3. So it's basically, if you're in 6/8, your 8th note's the beat, so you're just counting 8th notes. Okay, now this here, for number 7, says that fast tempos, 3/8 is counted in 1. Okay, so it's like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and 6/8 is counted in 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I talked about that a little bit in class, and you might want to remember the term compound meter. Okay, that would be an example of compound meter, right? Because there's only one beat that you feel per measure, but technically it's in 3/8. So it's a little bit different than your 4/4 and your 3/4. You know, with 4/4 and 3/4, how many beats that you hear? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's reflected in the time signature, right? But sometimes in time signatures like 6/8, how many beats you feel might not be reflected in the time signature. So you might feel like, and that's a pulse, dun, 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 but it might bump, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you might feel a 2-beat feel, but it's actually in 6/8 time signature. So that's called compound meter. At fast tempos, the note that is counted in one count, at fast tempos, the note that is counted in one count in 3/8 and 6/8 time is, okay, that's going to be your dotted quarter note, right? We talked about this a little bit in class. So a dotted quarter note is 3/8 notes, right? So if your pulse is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's just going to be basically a dotted quarter note, you know? So a pulse in 3/8, like if you were looking at this, if you're in 3/8 time signature, and you've got measures, so dotted quarter note, dotted quarter note, dotted quarter note. Okay, so that would just feel like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's where your pulse is, okay? And the same thing for 6/8. 6/8. You would just have 2 per measure, right? 2 dotted quarter notes per measure. So you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you have that pulse, and the dotted quarter note is technically the pulse there. So that might be important for you when figuring out metronome markings. Okay, moving on. Add bar lines and beats below the notes for the following examples at slow tempos. Okay, so we're in 3/8. Okay, and this is a slow tempo. So remember, our 8th note is the pulse. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So we're going to put a bar line after 3 8th notes. 1 8th note, 2 8th notes, 3 8th notes. And let's just go ahead and write our counting into there. You've got 1 on the 8th note, 2 on the rest, 3 on that 8th note. 1, 2, 3. And you've got another 8th note, the dotted quarter note. Gets all of that. 1, 2, 3. Bar line. 1, 2, 3. Bar line. 1, rest, 3, bar line. So it's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Bar line. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Oop. 1, 2, 2. 1, 2, 3. And that tie here goes over the bar line. And then you've got another 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That could be a clue for you too when figuring out these measures. Is usually you're going to find stuff in 4 and 8 bar phrasing, so that might help you if if you're not sure if you drew your measure lines correctly. Like I would double check. Like if you have like 6.5 measures or something weird like that, chances are you probably drew your bar lines wrong. Okay, now here, it looks like there's already a built-in pickup note, right? Because there's only 2 1/8 notes in this measure. And since we're in 6/8 time signature, that's obviously an incomplete measure, okay? So, and pickup notes are always tacked on to the last parts of the count. So you're not going to have, this isn't going to be 4/5 or 3/4. It's always the very end of a measure. So this is going to be 5/6 for your pickup measure. So if you were counting that, you'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry. So it'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Okay. So that would be right basically before you start the pulse. All right. So let's count these out and draw our bar lines. Quarter notes in 6/8 get 2 counts. So 1, 2. This 8th note is 3. These 8th notes are 4, 5, and 6. This dotted quarter note gets 3 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Draw your bar line. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Draw your bar line. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Huh. It might feel like you messed up because you're like, how does that work out? You know, there's only 4 counts and we're in 6/8. Oh yeah, the pickup measure. Okay, so that's, remember, just like in this first example, the end measure and the beginning measure complete the bar. Okay, so you got 1, 2 beats here, 3rd beat there. Just like in this example, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 counts here, and 5 and 6 here. The 2 portions combined give you a complete 6/8 measure, and that's how pickup notes work. Okay, 3 notes grouped together, which are played in the time of 2 notes of the same value, are called triplets. Okay, and we count those 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Okay, so for number 11, complete the incomplete measures below with 8th note triplets. Add beats below the notes. Okay, so we're just going to add our counting here. Okay, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. This is a half note, so it's going to be, let's keep counting 8th notes. 1 and 2 and all we have to do, like the directions say, is complete them with 8th note triplets. Okay, so since we have 1, 2 here and 4 there, we just have 3 beats or 3 notes right here. That's going to be a triplet. Okay, and don't forget to put your 3 above to indicate that it's a triplet. Okay, now that's basically like an 8th note triplet. That's what that's called. Okay, so just like a regular 8th note, it's beamed with 1 bar. Okay, and you're supposed to write, like I said, the counting is 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Kind of how I usually count that, as I'll go 3 T L. There's just not really enough space to write out trip and let. It's just kind of a lot to write in a small space. Okay, so here, let's see, what do we got missing? So how many counts total do we have here? 1, 2, and 3. So it looks like, so 1 and 2 and 3 and. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 8th notes. Break that down into 4, 4. That's 3 full beats. So we're missing beat 1. So we're just going to put some triplets there. 1 triplet. Beam it with 1 beam because they're 8th note triplets. Don't forget to put the 3 on top. That's crucial to knowing whether or not they're triplets. Otherwise, they're just going to look like single 8th notes. You know, there's not really much difference. You know, like right here, that doesn't have a 3 above it. Okay, so that's not a triplet. Those are just 3 8th notes. Same here. Those are just 3 8th notes. you'd have to put a 3 above it to indicate that they were triplets. So, and again, let's put our counting in. 1 triplet, 1 TL, 2 and 3 and 4 because it's got the dot, and then we'll put the and right there for that 8th note. Now here it looks like we have 1, 2, 3 because that's our half rest. 3 beats of rest, okay? So we only have 1 beat to cover. That's going to be our 1 triplet. Beam it with 1 bar. 3. Here we go. 1 triplet. And if you want to finish out that measure, 2 and 3 and 4 and for the rests. I always like to write all of my countings in just to make sure I have everything accounted for. Like I could show you some of my books when I first started learning to read music, and everything was written out just like this. I had countings under everything. Now that I can read quite a bit better, I don't do that. But when you're first learning to read music, definitely write in your countings. It's going to help you quite a bit. Okay, so here we go. We are going to clap this rhythm for number 11. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, triplet 4. I messed up. I played beat 4. Okay, let's try that again. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, triplet 4, and 1 triplet 2, and 3, and 4, and 1 triplet 2, and 3, and 4, and that's a little bit of a weird rhythm, because you've got those. Feels pretty abrupt when you end on the let of a triplet. When you end on 3 triplet, it just feels pretty abrupt. So that's kind of what that feels like. Pretty easy stuff. This is what the test, the quiz will be based on. All I do is copy and paste. I might change some time signatures and move things around. I think at this point you're starting to understand how I make my quizzes, and you guys are all doing well on them. That's it. Have fun, enjoy, and we'll see you next time.